juice it up. And Brock Besser comes back after 15 days away. I don't know how many games he missed. Has a 3-point night. Looks like he hasn't missed a step, and looks like he's wanted to play with Pettersson for a long time.
Yeah,
and they look great.
Yeah, Elias Pettersson, this run that he's gone on. I mean, if think like I think he has 10 goals in his last like 10 or 11 games. Like I think that's the run he's on, which is kind of crazy. Like throwing it back to, his first season and when when he had the 10 goals in 10 games to start off his career, and we were like, whoa, what is this? Who is this guy? And then obviously, he followed that season up with another 66-point season. He had the injury season last season. He came back this season, had the very abnormally slow start, the Walker saga, as the Walker AHL saga as we have it. And then it goes on this run to kind of, you're just seeing the things that made you really think and consider that Elias Pettersson was going to be not just, like a Michael Nylander. He's a flashy Swedish forward like William Nylander. He's going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy who does the thing that just all other 19 skaters on the ice can't do. And it's at the right time. It's at a peak where, Bo Horvat's out, like you said, Pearson's out, Chason's out. Hell, you could have Miller out, and I don't think he wouldn't care. He would be just like, okay, screw it. Like either it's a mental thing or he's finally physically healed up. But man, what a wild ride! What a wild ride this season has been, and especially for someone like Elias Pettersson in the last year, where it really does show like. The JT Miller has been consistent all year, but it just seems that really, however Elias Pettersson goes is how this team goes.
Yeah, I was looking it up today, Rash, and under Boudreau, under Gabby, JT Miller's had 11 games where he hasn't recorded a point.
Mm-hmm.
And Boudreau's been here since the beginning of December. So JT Miller's been a unit, just like an engine that doesn't stop. Meanwhile, Elias Pettersson, he looked like a player that we didn't recognize. He didn't play like anything, any way of his previous 2 years. And you brought up the old Walks tweet of, he might as well be in the AHL. And you kind of thought that because he was rudderless. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to play. No confidence. And then if you asked me mid-December, even with Boudreau here, if Pettersson would be on the verge of a 30-goal year with 6 games left in the regular season, you would have been laughed out of the haunted Burger King. You would have been tossed out of pomegranate by your waistband, thrown into a horse outside. Like you'd be ridiculed.
Yes, Deep. You have a very apt description of Deep Cove, my friend. Quickly, I just need to touch on this one thing because I think it's very confusing for some people. When I bring up the Andrew Walker tweet, and if people don't know what this is, it is former Sports 650 anchor Andrew Walker, whom said, I think back in January, essentially that Elias Pettersson had no impact. He should be pretty much like he's playing like he should be in the AHL. The thing is, Walker was right.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he
at
said
the
that
time,
he said it during the road swing from hell, and it was after the Tampa Bay Lightning game.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, he's completely Elias Pettersson's off the map. I think the double-sidedness of the comment is like, it doesn't help that Andrew Walker talks about himself as being the villain. So anything the villain says, regardless if it's rooted in truth, if proven wrong, is going to be met with like memeability, right? That's kind of the problem. But also, it's kind of like especially like that tweet was increasingly like a flag, like a flag just put in the ground to be like, this was the moment. Like ever since that moment, Elias Pettersson kind of just figured it out.
Well, Arash, you got to remember
kind of turned on in that Washington game. In that, I don't know if that. I think the Washington game against the Caps where he had 2 goals, that was after the Tampa game. That was early February.
Yeah, he came alive the third game of that road trip. Now, another thing that was polarizing was that team, the whole Canucks team, seemed to really figure it out by then because that was about a month into Boudreau. Everyone except Pettersson. Pettersson was still the lost cause. And you know what? He got all he needed was to find his scoring touch. He had to, Mickey Mouse with his equipment enough to figure out something that worked because, he's a perfectionist. He got his confidence back. People believed in him, and he didn't become a trailer. He didn't become a passenger on this team. Like he is one of the biggest reasons of this 6-game win streak right now. And I think that's what he wants and what he kind of requires. He doesn't want to be Tanner Pearson. He wants to be top line, big money, big minutes.
That's what he needs to be. And you really hope that players, especially with athletes that we really enjoy, so many times we see, because there's nothing we can do. Like sometimes, some people, or everyone's wired differently. Some people might just be content just being okay, and that's fine, because that's not everyone is destined to be this amazing great Tom Brady type some people, I think of someone like Dustin Byfuglien, whom
absolutely
viewed hockey as being like something he was good at, something he could make a living off of, but not the thing he lived for. And a lot of people have that criticism where they're like, well, you're getting paid so much. Why? If I was in that position, I would give everything. It's like,
eat, breathe, sleep the game.
Yeah. And I'm also sure people, if someone also wants to own a restaurant in a tourist destination and sees how pessimistic I am, would be like, you're an idiot. Why don't you appreciate it more? I would kill to have it. Okay. Everyone's different. And so not everyone's, have the same amount of priorities as sports fans. And Dustin, there's so many stories about him not even watching highlights, being like, he doesn't even know certain players. He's just like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I just kind of play the game and then I'm off fishing. I don't really care. And that's fine. But with this market, with Elias Pettersson, it's there. Like, the fire's there. That hockey seemingly, hopefully, is the number one thing. And you have to be patient. You have to be understanding, and that it's a, it's not a straight edge thing. It goes up and down and all around, and until they figure it out and they figure out how to play in this league consistently with who they are.
Exactly.
And this run is sick. This run that he's on is absolutely great.
And he's young as hell. He's got a lot of years to figure out what weird robotic approach to the game is going to net him the most success financially and on the score sheet. So just enjoy this ride. And we're enjoying this ride of wondering and waiting to find out what the hell is going to happen, because this is, like the draft lottery simulator, it's in the back of our mind right now because it's all fun right now. This is a wild journey, and when a player goes down, they find somebody else. Nick Petan, can you do a little bit more tonight? Sure, great, you're in there, and it's heartwarming. And and I think last week I brought up the comparisons of this. Reminds me of the 2000-2001 Vancouver Canucks when
the post Messier, the
post darkness.
I remember, Druken's, what was it, Druken's OT goal? Was that when Potvin moved to LA?
Potvin would have been in LA at that point, I believe, or backup Bob was in net. You can look up that, but basically there was darkness in this town for 3 years, and unfortunately that's how long it should have been with Jim Benning, but it wasn't. It was 8. But
sorry, just to point out, so Felix Potvin, I believe, was traded to the Los Angeles Kings in the middle of that season.
Nice.
And that OT goal that was scored by one Harold Druken, whom for the longest time I was like, he's only 35, like a couple years ago. And I was like, why don't you just bring him back? He could play a number one. No, that was how dark this franchise was, where I was actually making jokes years ago where I'm like, we need a 3C. And it's not like, Harold's there. Like
he's in Newfoundland. He's ready to go.
He's in Newfoundland. He's having a great little time. But yeah, no, Potvin was traded. That was the 2000-2001 season. He was traded for a conditional pick over to the Kings.
And for those that are younger or are not in the Vancouver market, that season didn't really mean that much. There was a heroic goal that sent the Canucks to the playoffs.
With Harold Druken, waits for fresh troops. Bertuzzi, Harold Druken scores! Still with it, protects it, gets it to Bertuzzi in front, shot, score! Vancouver wins!
But it was a stepping stone from the darkness and into the West Coast Express years, which I'm seeing a lot more under the scene because if we did this podcast a week ago, we were expecting to talk only about Austin Matthews or the playoff implications or anything else. But we're still talking about this team. Is it a team of destiny? I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. Yep. But in 2001, basically Harold Druken, the kid from Newfoundland, the Canucks had to...
The golden goal.
Yes, our golden goal to clinch the playoffs was against the LA Kings, against Felix Potvin and the Los Angeles Kings. Huge goal. The Canucks went on to get stomped by the Colorado Avalanche in the first round. But based on how weak the Pacific is, you might be the Oilers. So, hey, that's a beatable team. They don't have any goaltending.
Oh,
but
man. Well,
the comparables are there, and it is very fun.